Okay, we are live. I'm here with Mike Mchalowicz,
Nailed it. Right out of the gate, nailed it.
and you had the pronunciation guide on your bio. So, yeah, but that's what it looks like anyway. So, hey, Mike, it is a huge honor to have you here. I am a fan. I don't know if anyone watching is aware, but if anybody watching, I have a poll thing down there. Fill that out, poll. And I also, the whole thing has your, I've got the button there to get your book right there,
Oh,
right
awesome.
below us. It's just sitting there so people can go right to Amazon.
So promotional. I love it.
Yes. So
this isn't promotional behind me, the strategically positioned book.
Right, so. Right. So, yeah. Right. So I've got, you don't have your toilet paper book up there though. I've got your toilet paper.
Oh, I do.
Somewhere.
It's a tough camera. I got to swing all the way around.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what I wanted to do, I'm really excited to have you here. I wanted to first hear a little bit about the pain that created Profit First, right? Because I think that's what really I connected with in the book. I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs, and it's like this secret, this dark secret that we all have, these business owners. I mean, there's so many that are not profitable or just scraping by their paycheck to paycheck. And so could you, like, I don't know if you want to talk about that, but I would love to hear about like what kind of inspired this thing, because this is a problem that's so common yet, and it seems so damn simple.
Yeah.
Like it seems so simple and nobody really connected with this.
Yeah. So we're going deep fast. The problem is insidious, and what my life was like, I on the surface level, it looked like, oh, an entrepreneurial success, and I felt it too. I was growing businesses and a couple of multi-million-dollar companies from scratch. I started them myself, both with partners, but we just grew them, bootstrapped them, and I sold one to private equity. I sold another one to a Fortune 500. Just like, dude, look at me. I'm like a genius, man. Anything I touch turns to gold. But the only thing that was bigger than my bank account after selling to Robert Half International, I don't know if you heard of them. They acquired my second company. They don't account temps, office temps. They acquired it. My bank account blew up, but my ego just went, and I'm like, oh my God, I am God's gift to business. I am such a genius. Yeah. I believe my own garbage. And so what happened was I started spending money. First on trophies and like acquiring stuff. Like I had to have the Viper and the LR3 Land Rover and the 7 Series BMW and the house, the sabbatical. Yeah, nice, right? But really not. Like, because I found out like no one cares about that stuff. No one that cares really matters, or no one that matters cares, however the rule works. But I also said, well, I'm just going to keep this lifestyle up. I'm going to become an angel investor and start all these companies, and just everything I touch will turn to gold. And I quickly destroyed many businesses. I actually call myself the angel of death, because I was like so incapable of being an angel investor. And what I did was I lost all my money in about 2 years span, and never declared bankruptcy, even though my accountant strongly advised I should. And maybe legally I should have. Maybe financially it would have been prudent, but I didn't want to. But I went then. That was in 2008. 9 years ago. I had to tell my family that every penny was gone. And up to that point, Jason, I'd been lying to them by omission. I hadn't told them what's going on, and I came home that day, February 14th, ironically, Valentine's Day, and I was just sobbing because I had to tell my wife, my 3 children, everything's gone. And the turning moment I actually write about in my book, and I think it's important to share this because so many of us entrepreneurs, we live on the top line, like, yeah, how many millions you doing, man? It's always about size, but we don't care about the financial health until it crushes us. So I had refinanced my house and do all these things just to stay afloat. But that day I had to come home and tell my family. And what I write about in the book is my daughter, 9 years old at the time, when I told her, she ran out of the room. She was, everyone was terrified. And like, that's the answer. The thing is, she wasn't running out of the room. She ran to her room to get a piggy bank, and she put it down in front of me and said, Daddy, I'm going to support this. And that moment was, I was crying. Yeah, there's the piggy bank. At least a picture of it. That moment was just devastating. And I was honored and proud of my daughter, and just so ashamed what I had done, how I destroyed my family, and believing that success is top line thinking. And that's what actually sparked Profit First, the resolution to my own problems.
Yeah. Yeah. When I read that in the book, I was really touched by that, because I was like, I was going through that myself, and it just really resonated. Obviously, at a much smaller level. I don't have the millions of dollars. I don't have the, the Tesla car that I would love to have someday. I don't, but there were times where I wasn't able to pay my team. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey guys, I'll get money in. I'm hustling and grinding. And it felt like the whole world was against me, and I couldn't figure it out. I didn't know why. I was like, I can make money. I'm delivering value. I'm providing services for clients, but I look at the bank account and it seems like money's there, and I go and try to spend money to make money, and I'm just juggling, and it doesn't make sense to me. And it was just incredibly painful. And us crazy entrepreneurs, who gets the bulk of the stress, right?
Oh yeah.
Our spouse, man, my wife was just like going nuts and getting crazy, yeah, I've got brighter lights on, so it's making it easy here. So these are my indoor glasses.
Nice.
It's kind of a life hacker, sort of biohacker nerd. So for those listening, I just put on orange sunglasses, so it blocks blue light for all the light in my office, because I want good lighting for the video version. All right, so yeah. So anyway, it was incredibly stressful. In fact, there were times where I couldn't pay my team. And it was always like I had to hustle and grind and get the next deal on and get more deals on, get money in. I was always trying to outpace the spending.
Yeah.
And none of it seemed to make sense, right? And I didn't want to focus on the numbers. I wanted to focus on staying in my area of genius and creating and providing value and connecting and, helping people out. And it got to the point where I was like, something has to change. And I had a coaching client that mentioned Profit First to me. He was like, yeah, we're looking at doing this in my business. And what was funny is he canceled me as a coach then, probably because I was expensive, right?
Oh, I screwed you over.
No, it's cool. And so I heard that, and then I one of my coaches, who I'd shut a bunch of money to, he did a podcast, and he had his accountant on, and it was all about know your numbers. Mm-hmm. And this guy was talking about how he was a Profit First accountant. Like I looked him up, and I could see he was a Profit First accountant. And then, but he didn't really mention, he was talking about Profit First. He was talking about, knowing your numbers and this sort of thing. But I saw on his website that he was a Profit First accountant. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I had also heard from another business coach at a conference I was at, and he was like, you need to know your numbers. And I was like, okay, I need to know my numbers. I get it. Like, this is this thing I've been avoiding. I need to be clear on and know my numbers. I can't just say to my wife and my accountant, you guys kind of do this and I'll make the money, right? Mm-hmm. So it turns out my accountant was already a Profit First, like certified whatever in your network. And I was like, and I was reaching out to other people trying, hey, could you help me and do Profit First? And it turned out
who's your accountant?
Julie Babcock.
Who?
Julie.
Oh, Julie Babcock. Yeah, I know Julie. That's awesome. That's awesome.
And what I love about, I was on a call with her earlier today. And what I love about Julie is an entrepreneur. She's an entrepreneurial minded person. So she gets it. She gets and that's the thing is, it's nice to have an accountant that is also entrepreneurial minded, because they get that. They understand what it's like to have a spouse that's not entrepreneurial minded and thinks we're crazy, Mm-hmm. And so she's helping me get all these accounts set up so that I can start funding my crazy while still paying my team members and keeping everything. And for me, the level of pressure and noise, because that's what really kills, I think, us entrepreneurs, has just decreased dramatically in knowing that there's money in all these different accounts. And so everybody else that's watching or listening are like, what is he talking about? So tell us about, I honestly believe, I'm going to say this as a plug for what you're doing in Profit First, but I honestly believe that every business owner should employ the Profit First strategy.
Thank you.
They should either fire their accountant and find a Profit First coach accountant, or they should convince their accountant to do Profit First and take them through this process and get on board with this, because it makes so much sense. So tell us about, so you went from this painful situation.
Yeah.
Daughter's bringing you the piggy bank, killing you. And yeah, my kids did things similar when I'm like, hey, I need to do this. Or, they try to help. And you're like, this is not your problem. Yeah, this is not a problem that I should be putting on my kids. But they feel all of this. And that really is why we do everything. So related to this, little side note, Mike, what is your why? Like, what really drives you you're doing so many different cool things. What really drives you? Everything that's sitting on your shelf there, your pumpkin plan, Profit First, Surge, toilet paper entrepreneur. What motivates you to do all this? What's driving you?
So I turned it into a little bit of a tagline, but I'll tell you the meat behind it. So the tagline is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty.
Love it.
The why for me ties into my own story. Mm-hmm. I was an entrepreneur for 15 years. I guess it was 15 years before I had this collapse. And as I look back on it, I had this outwardly shell of success. Like, well, look at all the things I'm doing and the stuff. But inwardly, it was a mess of stress, this compressing in my chest and this constant, I don't know how to make payroll. There was nights I would not sleep through the night. I was so panicked about doing whatever it takes the next morning to work my ass off to make money to cover payroll. Yeah. And I thought this lifestyle was unique to me because all the other entrepreneurs I talked to were so successful. Everyone was making millions, but not me. I mean, I was making millions, but I wasn't keeping anything. And I found out that's actually the norm. So when I had this collapse and lost all my money, I started asking other entrepreneurs, and everyone has their own story. Maybe it's not losing the house and the cars, but maybe it's not being able to cover payroll. And it perpetuates. It's not like it's like a one-time event. There's entrepreneurs that live this way for the entirety of their businesses. So there was a statistic released by the SBA. There were some other sources, but the Small Business Administration was part of it, that stated 83% of entrepreneurs, and there's 125 million entrepreneurs or small businesses in the world, 83% are struggling check by check, meaning if they don't get deposits in this month, they can't cover payroll or the rent or whatever it is. So the vast majority cannot make it past one expense. And I'm like, that's enough's enough. I've lived through it. I know how painful it is. I'm going to first and foremost that to stop for me. And that's why I developed Profit First literally for myself. And then once I perfected it over the years, I said, okay, I got to get this out in a bigger way. I started helping people individually through it. And then 2 years ago, it became a book, the one you have. And then actually in 2 weeks, there's the new version. I don't know if my thumb's pointing the right way. The new version right there, which is coming out through Penguin. I'm re-releasing it in a revised and expanded version. And, and the reason I'm doing this is to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. I will not stand for it. And I got a big job in front of me. It will take a lifetime plus, but I ain't stopping.
So do you sometimes sit back and realize and give yourself credit for like the impact you're having on so many different businesses? I want to give you a little impact here. Okay. So my wife is at greater peace because of me doing this, right? My children are at greater peace. I'm able to spend more time with my kids as a result. My wife has jury duty right now.
Yeah.
And so I had basically like 4 hours to get work done during the day. It's ridiculous. And then I have kids.
Right.
But if my business would have burnt to the ground before, but I'm okay. I'm okay because I've got these accounts in place. And so like I have this like feeling of gratitude because I know the level of pain I was in and level of pain I was causing, and to think, and that's just got to feel really rewarding. And I want to like express that to you and let you know, thank you for doing that for me and for my family, because it's been a game changer.
Yeah, so that means a big deal. Thank you. I do get letters now, literally daily, like emails, but also written letters, cards of these stories that blow my mind away. Man, literally, later on after this, I'll be like sitting there going, "Holy cow, that's amazing!" Jason shared it. It'll hit me. It'll hit me. And
I mean, you talk about the elephant in the room a bit in your book. You talk about the guy next door with the multi-million-dollar house with the the amazing car, the Tesla. Like he's one bad month away from losing everything.
Disaster. But I think what is added to it is Julie Babcock, and there's hundreds of accountants now that are doing this, and there's entrepreneurs like you who are spreading the word. So I'm the first to admit that the profit first concept is not a new concept. It's pay yourself first. It's the envelope system. It's stuff that's been around forever. I'm just saying, let's apply it to business. So that was my contribution, saying, hey, we can apply this to business. Now there's this community that's so active, spreading the word and supporting others. I mean, just what you did. You saved your business. Look what and now you're telling others to follow suit. So there's hundreds of us. There's thousands of us now actually moving this along. So I am, at the same time, I'm grateful to be part of it. I'm extremely grateful for you, Julie, all these people who are carrying it forward, because I really think together we can eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. Let's get that out of, let's knock off that disease. Let's make that, the measles of the past. Let's eradicate entrepreneurial poverty and move on to more important things.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. So I actually turned one of my clients onto it, and
is it stern? Because I just saw a note come up.
Yeah. So I'm gonna. Are you cool with me bringing somebody in here?
Oh my God, that's awesome! Yeah.
Because I want people to get this, because if I can sell people on the idea of using profit first that are in my audience, they're going to have greater space. And that facilitates growth. That helps entrepreneurs stay in their area of genius and out of the pressure and noise that keeps us, that brings out all the worst attributes in entrepreneurs instead of the best attributes. And so Julie's in here as well. She's hanging out. So
Julie B, what's up?
Yeah. So yeah, but anyway, I had met with Sterling and I just thrown it out in passing, and he got the book. He went and got a profit first accountant, and awesome. And he's had some phenomenal growth in his business. For property managers listening or watching this, he went from being stuck and trapped at 60 doors to going to 300 doors in 6 months. And I would say that it was a large part was our seed package that we do for the property managers, but a piece of it was that he was able to also dial in the financial and the numbers side, and he did that using profit first, and that's significant. So I don't know if he'll pop in here, but if he does,
we'll say
then we'll listen to him. So, so you didn't do the bankruptcy thing. You were just feeling all this stress. You started figuring out, hey, I need to pay myself first. So, share with the viewers some of the principles, like explain why GAAP is crap.
Okay. So that's my little tagline too. And every accountant and bookkeeper kind of throws up in their own mouth when they hear me say that. But the reason I say GAAP is crap, not that it literally is a bad system, but it's ineffective because it doesn't account for human behavior. So Profit First is a human behavioral cash management system. And what I realized is what I was doing, and so many of us do, is our accountant tells us, read the income statement, the balance sheet, and the cash flow statement, all these documents, tie them in together, and you'll know where you stand. But instead, what I do is I log into my phone, log into my bank account and see what my balance is. And based upon what I see as my balance, I make a decision to spend money or not, that I can afford to do something. So I call that bank balance accounting. And one component of behavioral psychology is it is very hard to change our behaviors. Accountants, bookkeepers, and coaches, they've been trying to do it for centuries. Just read that darn income statement, understand your cash flow, and it's all there. And that's true. But our behaviors don't change. We revert to looking at our bank balance and make a judgment based on that. So Profit First is a system that works within our natural behavior. We set up at our bank. And here's the big outline of it. The first thing is we want to set up multiple bank accounts at your bank. It works like the old envelope system.
Right.
My mom used the envelope system. She worked at a factory down the road. $100 comes in, she cashes in that check. She puts 10%, $10 into the food, $50 into the mortgage, $20 into vacation, and some money into an emergency. And what happens when she went to the food store, that first envelope, whatever money was in there, she'd work with it. And it wasn't always the same. Sometimes she was sick, sometimes works overtime. Whatever money was in the food account, that's what she worked with. She made it happen. And sometimes it was, rice and beans. Other times it was, well, it was German, so it was liverwurst, which is actually, it stands for liver sausage, which tastes as bad as it sounds. Right. But whatever. So
I'll avoid that.
Oh, I'll avoid it. So it was the envelope system. The second principle we've been told is pay yourself first. We've been told to do this in our personal lives. When money comes in for personal income, put a portion into your retirement or to your savings right away to make sure that's protected. Then use the rest of the money for your lifestyle. So Profit First implements that. And basically how we do it, go to your bank. Instead of using one account for your business, that's the big mistake, use multiple accounts. One for profit, we're going to reserve profit. One for paying you as the owner. That's your owner's pay. That's your payroll for you. Another one for your tax responsibilities when tax time comes. One to operate the business. That's called operating expenses. Maybe another one to buy materials and products. And when you have these accounts, what we do then is money flows in our income. We then divide the money up. We allocate the money to the different accounts. Now we can continue to do our behavior. We log into our bank, just like we always did. But now we see all the accounts listed. We look at each one and say, oh, I have $100 saved in profit. Not going to touch it, but that's good. And we get to our operating expenses, and you see how much money you have to run your business. So that's the two core principles, is to pay yourself first, allocate that profit first, and divide the money up into envelopes. And now we understand where we stand, but we never have to change our behavior. You can still just log into your bank account.
Right. And so the standard accounting mindset that most people have, that you talk about over and over in the book, is really simple. It's you've got revenue, right? And then you take out the expenses, and then what's left over is profit. And
right.
And the reality is there's never anything left over.
Never.
And what's I think you said it's Parkinson's
law. Do you want to tell you about that?
Law? Yeah. Explain Parkinson's law.
So thanks for bringing it up. This is like the most fundamental thing you need to understand about our behavior, all of us. Because when you understand this, you'll understand cash management. Parkinson was a philosopher for the 1950s, 1960s. Nothing to do with Parkinson's disease. It's a different guy. He releases a study that discovers that economic theory, economic 101, the demand and supply curve is not matched to the behavioral response to the supply and demand. So economics 101 says as demand for something increases, the more we as consumers want something, supply will increase to match demand. And Parkinson said actually it's the reverse. As more stuff becomes available, more supply, our consumption or our demand for it will increase. It's the reverse. Basically, if I put a cookie on the table on a plate in front of you and say, would you like a cookie? You may say, yeah, and you get a cookie. If I put 10 cookies on a plate in front of you, say, hey, you want a cookie? You may eat 6 or 7. More supply, more consumption.
Right.
So, it's subconscious. And it applies not just to cookies. It applies to use of any resource. When there's less of it, of course, we're more frugal because there's less to consume. But also we become more innovative. Another example is with toothpaste. A full tube of toothpaste we use a lot. An empty tube of toothpaste, we become highly innovative. You twist and turn and bend the living crap out of that toothpaste tube to extract one drop of toothpaste. And what that is Parkinson's law: less available, more frugal, more innovative, twist and turn. So in our business, when money flows into our business and we have one checking account, which I bet you most people watching, if you're not set up on profit first, that's what you have. You see a clump of money, you see a full tube of toothpaste, you see a big plate of cookies. So what do? We're like, oh, we have the money available. So we pay our stack of bills, we do all these different things, and the money's gone. But if we take our profit first, remove it, then the remainder of the money is less now, is for operating expenses. You give yourself intentionally a near empty tube of toothpaste. So now you have to squeeze and twist and turn to make the business accomplish the same things with less money. And Parkinson's law states you'll become more frugal. That's obvious, but you'll become more innovative. You'll find ways to get the same results with less money. And that's what makes businesses break through. When you can figure out to get a solution without putting gobs of money into it, it's great. So take your money, your profit first, hide it away from yourself, and Parkinson's law becomes your ally.
Right. I mean, we do this all the time. We eat what's on the plate. Like you always hear people, if you want to eat smaller portions, get a smaller plate, right? We tend to eat whatever's on our plate. It's in our nature. If there's money in the account and we think there's money there, I would go and spend it. I'm like, I'm going to go hire a coach. I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. And then I'm like, oh crap, I got to pay my team, right? Or, oh, I got to do this. And then you never know when stuff's going in and out. If you have that one account, it's like, oh, I just spent this money. Well, something else is going to hit, and then it's and I love how you call it in your book, Frankenstein.
Yeah. The Frankenstein. Yeah. Because it's this, the business becomes a soul-sucking, cash-eating monster. We keep on feeding it, saying, gosh, when's that breakthrough moment going to happen? There's another behavioral tendency called the primacy effect. In the revised version of the book, I talk a little more about the behavioral components.
Oh, cool.
And it's important to know this because the primacy effect in particular means when something is put immediately in front of us, that becomes our prioritized focus and our belief for all the circumstances around us. Not well worried about. I'll give you an example. If I ask you today and you're feeling well, and I say, hey, how do you feel? How's your health in general? If you're feeling well, the likely answer is I feel good. I'm pretty healthy. If today you were sick, and I said, how do you feel? How's your health? You say, well, I feel like crap, and I seem to get sick a lot. So whatever's happening in the moment, we kind of play out as the greater scenario. So with money, if I ask a client, a client or someone I'm working with, how are you doing financially? And they just had a big deposit come in, they're like, oh, business is great. Things are rolling. It was a dark period. We've recovered. Things are great. Conversely, if I ask people and they have no money that day, how's business? They're like, oh my God, it's miserable. I'm really struggling. It feels like it's always like this. So whatever's in the moment, we believe to be the long-term vantage point. So profit first gets us out of that. We overreact either way. We overspend because we seem to have tons of money, or we get all panicky when there's not much money. So profit first, by dividing the money out, it actually stabilizes the flow of cash. And instead of going through these kind of feast and famine experiences as more deposits come in, it normalizes it. And it brings back our senses. We're no longer reactionary. We actually start reverse engineering that profit. We take our profit first. We start becoming much more calculated on how do I make this happen consistently.
Yeah. So I love these ideas. So the Parkinson's law, which I Googled it, says like work expands to fill the time available for its completion.
Yeah,
so a lot of times it's used for time. It can be used towards money. It can really be applied towards anything. We're gonna use whatever's on our plate. And in nature, you see this, like goldfish. You take a goldfish, you put it in a little tank, it stays small, right? You take a goldfish, you put it in a big pond, those things get big. Yeah. And they grow to their environment. And the same thing with our money. And so I love that. And then I love the idea of paying yourself first. So I just watched this documentary on Netflix on there's all these spy in the den or spy in the whatevers. Like they take these cameras and they film these animals from a vantage point that normally you wouldn't be able to see as a human, right? Because they probably eat you or something, right? So I don't know. But So there's a spy in the den, and in this documentary, you see that these lions work together as a team, which is very different than tigers. They work together more as a team, and the females hunt as a team, and the females go out and hunt, and they're really good at hunting. And then the one female that got the kill gets this animal and is like, this is mine, and starts, digging in. And then guess who comes along?
Papa Bear.
The king of the den, right? The king of the herd. He comes in and he's like, get out of here, rah, and scares her off. And he's like, the king eats first.
Yeah.
Like, the king eats first. And like, my kids are watching this. And at first I was watching this, so I was like, that's not fair.
Right.
But then later you see that he protects the entire herd. He's protecting the little cubs. Like, he's expected to go to war, and all of them sit back and let him fight. And pride, not den. Well, I think it's called
No, he's a pride, not herd. You were saying
pride, but they called it like Spy in the Den, I think is the name of the Lion's Den is maybe where they hang out. I don't know. But yeah, they're called a pride. I'm being corrected.
I've been studying those things. Like, so pride is for lions, gaggle is for goose. One called a clouder, that's for cats. A group of domesticated cats are called a clouder.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of cats, so that'd be the worst one for me.
There you go. You don't want to be called a clouder then.
No. I got dogs. I'm a dog guy, but yeah. So
it's called a pack, by the way, a pack.
But yeah, the king eats first, and if the king doesn't eat first, what kind of a king would a king be, right? He wouldn't be thinking clearly. He would, if he's starving, how's he going to take care of the entire kingdom? And I think as entrepreneurs and business owners, a lot of times we self-sacrifice in some ways.
Oh my God, you're so right.
And we hurt ourselves. And so this goes back to that. It really is a core principle that we need as king of the organization or queen. Yeah, you need to make sure that you take care of yourself, not just health and everything, but financially, so that you can make sure that you're taking care of everybody else.
Yeah, it's the old put the mask on before you do it for other passengers thing.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
And so entrepreneurs, it's just a matter of time, Jason, before they start resenting their business. For me, my first business, it was about 2 years in when I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, I was working my butt off. I was working so hard, working ridiculous hours, and I was barely able to pay my employees. I never took home a penny. And by the way, my employees thought I was rich. And I'm like, you have no idea. And I hated that business. So and part of that was an impetus to start another business. And it was the exact same thing. I'll tell you this. The number one employee, literally the number one employee at any business is very easy to pick out. It's the owner. Because think about the sacrifices we make. We work through holidays. We sacrifice family. We work ridiculous hours. And we do it for no pay. Which, by the way, that is the definition of the world's greatest employee. If you're willing to come to my company, work ridiculous hours, sacrifice your family, work through holidays, and do it without me paying you, you're hired. So,
and we take the biggest risks. We're taking all of the risk. We're taking all the risk, and we're operating sometimes in a house of cards that's absolutely ridiculous, sometimes not even profitable. And then you turn around and everybody else that's not an entrepreneur, they want safety and certainty. They work for us, right?
Yes.
But it's a myth for most business owners that there's safety and certainty there. Like they think there is. And so Profit First actually helps create that, which is great.
Right. And it's certainty for us, because when we have that certainty, the owner, and you know that money's been reserved for you, then you can start managing your company. Then you kind of going back to that example with the pride. The king's got to eat, the queen's got to eat. I get it, but instead of having to fight for it, meaning literally attack take the money either from my employees and not pay them, or give them money and I don't eat. No. Let's make sure there's enough for everyone. So we pre-apportion the money for everyone to be covered. And this, by the way, is another component of Profit First. As you pre-apportion money and there isn't enough money for, say, to pay your bills, that stack of bills has been piling up, that is the lead indicator that you can't afford those bills. So when you have an expense you can't pay, you can't afford it. And that's your business giving you direct feedback. We need to change around how you operate your business to be more efficient.
So let's clarify this for those that are listening. So Profit First accounting flips the model of revenue minus expenses equals profit. Profit's what's left over. Instead, it's revenue minus profit based on usually a formula, right? Equals what's left over, what you can do for expenses. And so first thing Julie had me do is start looking through my expenses. What can you cut? What expenses can you cut? Yeah.
And I'll tell you, for any business, when we set this up, for a business to cut 10% expenses, it seems like a no-brainer for most businesses. The one misnomer, or one of the misnomers about Profit First is, to become more profitable, I must cut as many expenses as possible. But there is a point where you start cutting, not fat, but you start cutting the muscle of your business, it becomes damaging. So Profit First is not about cutting all your expenses. It's about cutting the frivolous expenses. But step 2, and this is the far more important one, it's about becoming innovative. And there's a story I'd love to share about Apollo 13. Have you seen that movie by any chance? Yeah. So this talks to innovation. In that movie, the pivotal scene is the astronauts are kind of circumnavigating the moon, looking to come back to the world, to the Earth. But as they're going around it, they radio down to Houston and say, we got a problem. Our oxygen filters are failing, and we have about 10 hours of oxygen before it all turns to carbon dioxide, and we're dead. And we need 48 hours to get back to Earth. We're dead. The next scene, and this is a real story, the lead engineer goes into a room with other engineers with a cardboard box and dumps this box on the table and says, those parts, that's all we got on that shuttle up there, that capsule, make an oxygen filter out of these spare parts. And it was like wire, duct tape, tubes. And they did. And here's the lesson here, is when NASA had tens of millions of dollars, and that's what they invested in making oxygen filters, taxpayer money, they built oxygen filters for tens of millions. When they didn't have any money and didn't have time, they had to work with the pieces that they had. And they made an oxygen filter out of junk, which, a few hundred. And so now, listen, I'm sure they use some of the stuff that was up there already. I mean, it's not like they just made out of a tube and they start breathing into it. They use some of the materials that was up there. But NASA, the smartest people in the world, as they got more money in, they expanded to that resource and said, we can use all that money to make an oxygen filter. And they brought in complexity, unnecessary complexity. When they didn't have the money or time, they simplified it and made a system that works. The lessons here, you can cut some costs. But when you don't have money, it also forces innovation and simplicity, which brings about efficiency, which actually facilitates the best growth. So it's more than just cutting costs. It's about innovating.
And you don't hear that from too many people. They're touting innovation. Everybody says, you should be innovative. You should be like Apple. You should be like this. You should innovate. But then they don't want to say, hey, maybe you should set limits on spending. And maybe you should make it difficult so that you have a need to innovate, right? So I love this.
It's the concept of intentionally handicapping yourself where you have to become a better performer. And you see this with some athletes and so forth, that they have a physical challenge or something, and they actually convert that into an asset of some sort. Musicians do this. A blind musician is more in tune with the audio, the sound, and Stevie Wonder's a great example of how phenomenal he is. And we have the same thing in our business. By intentionally limiting the availability of a resource, it strengthens our others. And by limiting the resource of money, it strengthens our innovative spirit and our way of finding alternatives.
That's fantastic. I mean, what a great insight. And I've noticed that I used to just go spend money, right? And I think a lot of entrepreneurs do this. We go spend money and we buy this program, we buy this, and then we don't even have time to do those things. Right. But like this morning, I said to Julie, Julie, here's these people I want to hire, these roles I want to fill, and this I want to do. And she's like, and these things I want to do. And she's like, okay, we're going to open up another account just for education. Oh my gosh, and we're going to open because this is a big deal. I want to spend a lot of money, in programs and coaching, because I love to learn, right? I love that. And so I need an account for that.
Yes.
So that I can, right. Yeah. I need an envelope. So, and she's putting limits on me, and those limits are making me go, okay, how can I make more money? Because I'm going to make more money so I can do this fun stuff that I want to learn and do.
Yeah, you're so doing it right, Jason. And that's the idea, is in the old model, we spend the money and then we panic after the fact saying, I got to get the money. I got to pay off that credit card. In this model, we first allocate money to the purpose. We have to earn it first, and then we can do the transaction. So you actually will have the money in hand. You will be able to pay for it with cash when you make that decision. But also, it increases the value of that decision. When I swipe a credit card, I don't feel like pain. I'm like, oh, there's my credit card, $2,000. Let me watch this class. I'll watch it a couple months from now. But when I have to pay cash for it, I'm like, this is a part of me going out the door right now, this second. Here's my cash. Now I see it as significantly valuable and important, and I actually make more effort in extracting value out of that product or service I purchased.
Yeah, especially if you're doing active work, consciously thinking about saving for this thing, then it becomes infinitely more valuable. Yeah.
Yes.
Love it. Love it. So, all right. So I want everybody to go out and get the Profit First book. Really, like, I'll tell you what I did, and I'm probably the worst example. I read probably maybe the first half until I started getting into all the number stuff. And then I was like, Julie, help me out here. I want you to help me take all this and then help it make sense to me. So, and that's what I really recommend people do is unless there are a lot of property management entrepreneurs that you guys are very accounting focused. You're managing trust accounts. You're handling rent payments. You're doing all of this. And so if you are an accountant type of person, then you could probably get the book and just dig into this and you would love it. Otherwise, there are resources, and I'll link to those in the show notes right below here. There's Mike's resources. It links right to your resources page. People can click on this right now. I'll show it right here at the bottom.
Awesome.
And focus tab. So
boom.
There's that. And so you can check that out. I also have the Get Profit First link. I'll put that also in the show notes. It's the big button right below. You can get the book on Amazon and check that out. So Mike, it's so fun to hang out and jam with you.
That's awesome.
You're on my Dream 100 hit list. It was really cool to hang out. So if you have a few more minutes, I'd love for you to plug your other stuff and tell us about your other books. Surge is a new one. But if you could go back, your very first book that kind of started you off.
Yeah, so I'll grab them off the shelf here.
Entrepreneur.
Yeah, so the first book was The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. And here, just so you can see it. This was, there we go. Ooh, it's reflecting. The Toilet Paper Entrepreneur was my first book. And this was similar to Profit First, is the concept of the lack of resources is your ally. And so when this is really oriented towards someone that's early stage, starting a business, or in the very early stage, under $1 million and looking to grow. And I talk about how I found the lack of education, the lack of resources, the lack of contacts, the lack of money. All those things are actually advantageous. You just need to position it the right way. Second book is The Pumpkin Plan. I don't know, it's kind of bleached out there. I don't know where it is, but The Pumpkin Plan. And this book is about rapid growth. How can you grow your business quickly, but do it organically and healthy, not by infusing money, getting venture capital. How do you do it yourself? And so what I did was I studied actually pumpkin farmers, the colossal pumpkin farmers, and found that they just change a few things in the pumpkin growing process that sparks this growth. And it's uncannily parallel to what we can do in business. So I explain that in there. Surge is a book about timing the marketplace. The biggest advantage you have is if you're in the right place at the right time, clients will carry your business forward. Even poor marketing and all that stuff goes out the window if you're in the right place at the right time. So that's Surge. And then Profit First, I'm re-releasing. That's why you see it looks different. It's coming out February 21st. So 2 weeks from now, I expanded, you got the little band there, revised and expanded. Cool. I simplified it further. I also kind of front loaded it. I realized a lot of readers, you read the first half of the book and you're like, I got to get someone on here. Everything's in the first 40 pages of the book. You will have Profit First working. And then if you want to get more sophisticated in, that stuff's toward the back. If you want to hire a professional, you can then go hire a professional, but it's all in there. It's simplified the best I can. Plus the stories, there's a baseball team that actually used Profit First. And I explain how they did it. There's maybe a dozen new stories of companies that have been successful with Profit First.
Love it. I'll have to check that out.
Thanks,
So
brother.
cool. I'll mention what I really liked about the pumpkin plan, and I call it kind of the pumpkin principle. I love the
Oh, I like
idea
that.
of getting rid of the rotting pumpkins, right?
Mm,
So property managers, I just got off a call with a lady before this, and she was going through a divorce.
mm.
She'd just gone through divorce. She's trying to run this property management business. And I said, "What's your biggest challenge right now?" And she said, "Time." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I asked her about that, and she was dealing with all these property and maintenance issues and whatever. And I said, but she was describing specific situations with specific properties, and she's got a portfolio of only like 40 doors, guys. And so but all of her time's eaten up
Yeah.
by basically, I pointed out to her, I said, it sounds like all of your time is being eaten up by 3 bad properties. And she was like, yeah. I was like, if you got rid of those 3 bad properties,
I know.
those 3
Game
rotting
changer.
pumpkins in your pumpkin patch, like
Yep.
that are going to rot the entire patch, like what would that do in terms of time? And so I have
Game
this
changer.
principle that I share with property managers called the cycle of suck. So if you guys haven't heard that, Google cycle of suck. It's like the top link right now, but check out the cycle of suck for property managers. And it's based kind of on this pumpkin plan that if you take on crappy owners, clients, then you're going to have crappy properties. And if you have crappy properties, then you're going to have crappy tenants. And then you're going to get crappy reviews. And then if you have crappy reviews online, you're going to attract crappy clients. And so the cycle continues. And so we've got Philip here. He says, for those who don't have time to flip through a book, you can get the audio, and Mike reads it and adds colorful stories. Love listening. Yeah, Mike, you have your own podcast.
I do.
You're fun to talk to. And so, yeah, you can listen to the audio books. It's a great hack for entrepreneurs. So,
yeah.
So cool. Mike, I would love to have you on at another date to talk about some of your other books. Be totally awesome. And I, like you, I'm not trying to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty per se, but my why is to inspire others to do what works. Basically, I love to, and my why statement from Simon Sinek, right? My why statement is to inspire others to love true principles. And to me, true principles are the things that work. And that's why I really love these kind of books, because they illustrate principles and they share principles, and you can apply them to a lot of different things. Like we talked about the Parkinson's law. So, So Mike, great pleasure. Anything else you'd like to say to the audience, or where they can find you or get a hold of your stuff?
Sure. So, well, I'll tell you where you get my stuff, and I'll give you my final little thought. My website, MikeMchalowicz.com, you see on the screen. That last name, listen, it's a doozy to spell, so I have a shortcut. My nickname in high school was Mike Motorbike. So if you go to MikeMotorbike.com, it'll bring you to my website. I've lots of resources there. I used to write for the Wall Street Journal, but my big promise is if you go to the homepage, I promise you'll experience a site like you've never experienced before. It's way different, and hopefully you'll get some ideas from that. And then the final thought I have for you is profit first, as I outlined here with all the different accounts and stuff. I've come to realize it can be a sudden shift for businesses. It can be a little overwhelming going all in. Hiring a Julie Babcock is a great way to get going. But today, right now, you can take your first step, and it's start small. All I do is I encourage you to set up one account, a checking account at your current bank, not a new bank, just set up a checking account, and then allocate 1% of every deposit to profit that new account. And just by doing that, when the time is right and you're ready to take the next step, you can. It's such a small amount that just by doing this small allocation, you'll start winning over the confidence in yourself that you can allocate profit first. And maybe 90 days from now you go to 2% or 5%. And within the year, you're going to have so much progress in your business. The key is getting started now, and the key is getting started with a small, easy step. And that's how you do it.
All right. Mike Mchalowicz, everybody. Mike.
Thanks, brother.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jim.
I'll figure out how to end it here shortly.
I don't even